Welcome to this week's episode of the Everything Went Black podcast. Ralph Schmidt returns. Ralph, always a well of great ideas, came up with this. Even though it's not an original idea of his, it really fit the dynamic of our friendship. The Mount Rushmore of. It's a rapid fire session of name your Mount Rushmore of whatever. So it was a lot of fun. I know Ralph pilfered this idea from another podcast, but hey man, we made it our own, and we'll be doing more of these. And I really enjoy doing these collaborations with Ralph. He's always got great ideas, like I mentioned earlier. Before we get going, I want to shout out the Horsemen of the Podcasting Apocalypse, a group of fine content creators at war with mediocrity. Every other Monday, Brandon Legion brings us Horror Wolf 666. Up next on Tuesdays, Jackie Schmidt brings us Into the Necrosphere. Wednesday is Two for Wednesday because we have Everything Went Black and Iblis Manifestation. Thursday is another two for day, so we'll call it Two for Thursday. In addition to being Necro Thursday for the Necromaniacs Horror Podcast, we've got Day One of Soul Knocks, brought to you by Carl Hykera. Friday is Spitball Media, an irreverent pop culture podcast. On Saturday, well, that's a day off. But don't worry. On Sundays, the sinister minister himself, Carl Hykera, comes back with Day Two of Soul Knocks. Before we get deep into this, I just want to thank everyone who listens. And also, if you want to help out the podcast, please share and like all of the posts, subscribe, leave reviews, that sort of thing. If you want to take it one step further, you can join the Everything Went Black Patreon. For as little as $1 a month, you get access to bonus material. For $5 a month, you get access to the bonus material plus early access to the regular shows. And for $25 a month, you can become a sponsor. Ralph, great having you back. It feels like a long time since the last time we spoke.
Yeah, but dude, what is time anymore in a world that's gone complete batshit crazy?
Yeah, dude, it's without getting too deep into the politics of things,
Oh, no, no.
it's like it's crazy how the hubris of one mentally deranged person can affect the entire world.
Yeah. But it's like, I mean, that's like speaking of Carrot Man and like he's fucking up your country, but like every government right now is struggling, and then you've got like social justice warriors agendas on the internet, and everything has become it became so hostile in the last week. So like I'm keeping away completely as much as I can from all this shit. I'm not
Yeah.
hanging out with people anymore. I mean, like when you texted me, it's like, "Hey, do you have time for a podcast?" I'm like, "I love to," because you're like probably one of the only people I actually want to talk to.
Oh, thanks, man.
And yeah, I mean, we have all these ideas, and once Ultha has done the tour with Russian Circles mid-June, I will play no show for the rest of the year. We will work on the new Ultha record, but like in general, there will be more time. So hopefully
Mhm.
we can get back to like doing a podcast once a month and
Yeah, totally, dude.
doing Hellbound Heart and like all the other cool ideas that we always have. But it's good to talk to you again. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I always look forward to this. And I just knew that you were busy with the band and you guys are doing a lot of cool things. And I didn't want to I knew that you were busy, so I just didn't want to jump into your schedule and make things more
Yeah.
complicated.
No, dude, you can always ask. I will always make time for you. And like the worst thing I can do is like, dude, it's not now, but I can do it tomorrow. And like I said, like I wanna hang out with Danny and with Titus and watch wrestling and talk to you. That's like my some of my favorite things in life. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, and yeah, likewise. So this new wrinkle into our discussions it's a sounds like a fun one. So you want to give everyone the kind of rundown since this was your concept here.
Yeah. I mean, it's also just ripped from someone else, like always, but
Yeah. Well, the
um,
best music is rip-offs of other people too.
of
So
course, like, and then
yeah.
it's just like giving credit where credit is due, and I want to do this in form of like giving a shout out to the Heart Lore podcast, and because they have this when they have guests, it's primarily focused on hardcore, and like they always ask that, what's your Mount Rushmore of this and that? So pretty much a top four, but it has a cooler name, so that's why we called it the Mount Rushmore episode. And the idea is making this like a reoccurring theme, more lightweight than the metaphysics off, which is always kind of heavy and
Yeah.
philosophical. The idea here is in general that both Mike and I prepared topics, and we will confront the other person live on air right now. And the other person has to give us their top four in set genre. So they're Mount Rushmore. And so I prepared some topics, Mike prepared some topics. We have our answers ready, but we don't know what the other person will ask us. So, and then we will shoot from the hip and probably say later on, fuck, I forgot to say this one, or I forgot to mention this guy or this guy. But that's the fun in it. And which makes it what makes this whole thing even more fun is you guys out there listening, hit up the comment section. And we know in general it's a good rule to stay away from the comment section in general because that's like incel paradise. Um, but please feel free, like on the Everything Went Black Instagram and Facebook, give us your answers to the topics if you have a feeling. Um, and one thing, probably before we go into it, this here will be subjective. So if I ask Mike, and we will do like an example in a minute, and I have asked Mike, I want him to say his personal top four, like his Mount Rushmore. Then we could, like, if I said mine, we can talk about, okay, so what do you think is objectively the most common answers? So if you're out there and say, what a fucking douchebag. Why didn't he name this band? Or why didn't he say that movie? It's like, hey, calm down. You have a comment section. Let us know what you think. But this is a subjective discussion of two adult men.
That's a good disclaimer, man. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I guess I'll start off.
So should we do like the example one that I like said?
Oh, yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
is
Okay.
it because
Yep.
that's an easy and people will understand.
Sure.
So, Mike, on the spot, name me your Mount Rushmore of horror movie villains.
Oh, okay. That's easy. Horror movie villains. Okay. Number one is Michael Myers as he appears in Halloween 1 and 2.
Mhm.
You notice how I limited that to the John Carpenter style,
Mhm.
of Michael Myers. I didn't really get into the later versions of him. Definitely did not like him as the white trash Rob Zombie, uh, you know, like
Yeah.
hillbilly version of Michael Myers.
So the Jason Voorhees and Michael Myers mask. Yeah.
Yeah, and I did not really appreciate the most recent foray into the Halloween universe. You
But dude,
know,
like the first one was so good, and why did they fuck it up so bad afterwards? I liked the first one a lot.
yeah. So that's like that's always my he just even atmospherically, especially in the first movie.
Yeah.
It even as a young kid, it just the whole thing just resonated with me and scared me.
Yeah.
The fact that he's around during the day and he's just like lurking, in the hedges somewhere.
Yeah.
You don't really, you know, like who he is. He's Michael Myers, but how did he transform into the shape?
Yeah.
It's like he was just a young kid, and then they don't explain it. There's no like supernatural like someone did some ritual and he became this like inhuman sort of deity type thing. There's nothing like that.
Yeah.
You just have to make this leap of faith into just this manifestation of like evil,
Yeah.
and being mean spirited and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So that's my first pick. Right on the heels of that, um, I'm gonna say Hannibal Lecter as portrayed by Mads Mikkelsen in the Hannibal
Oh.
TV show.
Mhm.
Yeah. I think that hey man, no disrespect to Anthony Hopkins, but he kind of played it like a little. There was one note with him in the Silence of the Lambs movie,
Mm.
which is great, but Mads had like 3 seasons of Hannibal to develop the character,
Yeah.
or the writer did. I forgot who wrote that, uh, who was the showrunner on that.
Mm.
But yeah, he just added this whole other dimension to the character, and would be a brilliant person, except for the one flaw of his insanity.
Mm.
And those are my favorite villains in some ways. A lot. I mean, though I love Michael Myers, who's just pure evil. The my Some of the best villains are the ones who have a. It's like they're totally fine, except for one thing is wrong with them that makes them go into the dark side.
Mm.
I kind of feel like the Hannibal Lecter of the Hannibal show, um, is definitely could be figured out, figured as one of those, types of
Yes,
characters.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, this probably should have been my number one, but the Joker.
Ah,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? That's actually probably my number one is the Joker. And once again, you don't really it's not there's several versions of the Joker out there, as we all know. There's like the comic book version. There's the most recent Joker films, which I really actually enjoyed, that Joaquin Phoenix portrayed the Joker and he was known as Arthur Fleck in those.
Yeah.
And I think they're fine. I even like the second one. The second one, everyone was up in arms about the second one.
I also didn't get the hate. Like, it's not as good as the first one, but it wasn't as bad as everybody made it out to be.
It's just different, and
Yeah.
you have to go into it with an open mind, you know what I mean? And I thought it was really cool. I enjoyed it. I thought it was great. And that version of the Joker, you know, as this kind of, incel, uh, you know, almost someone who would shoot up a school or something like that, is
Mm.
it's kind of like a modern take on the character,
Yeah.
and I dig that. Of course, probably the best, I mean, this is once again my opinion, the best version of the Joker was Heath Ledger.
Yeah.
I mean that those three Batman films are like monuments to Batman in the cinema. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and he there was something maybe the era that it came out in, the way his makeup looked and all that sort of stuff, and he just was this element, this purely chaotic element,
Yeah.
and his story changed every time they asked him like where he came from, like what was it,
Yeah.
what's his story? It changed every single time. Where'd you get those scars? You don't have, there's no backstory on him. He's just
Mm.
this, almost like this like tulpa that appeared out of the ether. You know what I'm trying to say? It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
he appeared fully formed, just all the chaos in the world embodied in like one particular character with no history. It's
Yeah.
great. And then of course all the different comic book incarnations of the Joker have been great too. The Frank Miller version of him with the Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Even the original Bob Kane version from the 40s. Where
Yeah.
he was based more on The Man Who Laughs, like that black and white movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's and Jack Nicholson too. Like I think he was called Jack Napier in those Batman films.
Mm.
So yeah, that's my that would be my number one.
Okay.
Yeah. And I got one more to come up with.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's see here. Oh, just came up because we were talking about him recently, is Louis Cyphre from Angel
Ah.
Heart as portrayed by Robert De Niro.
Ah, very good. Yeah.
Now, there's a whole other. It's funny because Mike and I actually talked about this because on Necromaniacs, um, the people were asking if we would do Angel Heart, and we were talking about the different. versions of the devil and Satan, and Mike,
Hmm.
there was Robert De Niro and Al Pacino both played the devil. They both
Hmm.
played Satan. And Mike, was saying how he kind of leaned more towards Pacino, and I lean more towards De Niro for a couple of different reasons. And one of them is kind of like philosophical. It's like, in the Milton version, The Fall from Grace, with Lucifer, and he loved God and hated mankind because God was favoring mankind, and the whole like Paradise Lost sort of version of the devil. I feel like Louis Cypher as portrayed, the Robert De Niro would be that Lucifer. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? Who
Yeah.
has been existing, observing mankind and sort of like using his mankind's like hubris and egotistical nature to bring on their downfall, which is essentially what he did with, Harry Angel, in order to become like popular and successful. He, went into this pact with the devil and then tried to that whole story. Like that's like
Mm.
a very common story, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought that De Niro killed it back. Even when I saw the movie back in the 80s as a kid, I was like, man, this is like the best devil ever, man. You just look how cool he looks.
Yeah. Yeah, like he's more the calm, like collected, evil lurking guy, and Al Pacino is like the flamboyant one, you know? Like
Yeah.
I mean the monologue in Devil's Advocate when he says like touch but don't taste, taste but don't swallow. That's like an all-time great performance. But
Yeah.
I also lean more towards De Niro as the devil. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I visualize Satan, as more of, or Lucifer, as more of
Yeah.
like this kind of like erudite, composed, world weary, because he's immortal, so he's
Yeah.
had all these thousands of years to observe like humanity's like folly, and
Mm.
that's kind of my take on it, and I feel like De Niro really captured that in that film, even though that really wasn't the main, you know, that wasn't like he wasn't a huge part in that movie, but when he was on screen, it was like so effective.
Yeah. Yeah, there was an interview with De Niro recently, like I don't know which channel it was. It wasn't YouTube, and so they made him like revisit like his characters that he portrayed. And it was like a half an hour video, and it didn't say in the captions like which roles he will talk about. But of course, like I was hoping he would talk about this one. He would talk about Cape Fear, but like it was more like the modern stuff, and also of course like Godfather, Travis Bickle, which I understand, and like Raging Bull. But I would love to see him like talk about like what made him like tick when he prepared to become the devil. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Max Cady is another great, villain
Yeah.
because he's also very complicated, and
Yeah.
Travis Bickle is more like an anti-hero, really, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah,
So one of your
yeah,
mine.
yeah. Go ahead.
So like I stuck more to the traditional like real horror ones. Of course, my favorite is Freddy. He will always be my favorite
Hmm.
because he's just like he was a gateway drug for me for horror, and he's so outstanding in the way he looks, the way he acts, like this whole franchise. So Freddy will always be my number one guy. Then Michael Myers, of course, same reasons you said. He's so evil and so minimalistic in his approach, like the complete opposite of Freddy. Um, Number three is the Hell Priest from Hellraiser, which people call Pinhead most of the times, which is just such an iconic figure and like the looks to it, his appearance, and especially like Hellraiser 1 and 2 being like some of the best horror movies ever done. And my number four is Pennywise, as
Oh.
portrayed by Tim Curry
Mm.
in the old version, which to me is still one. Like, I mean, I don't know. There's this word for like if you have phobias of clowns, and like I get it that a lot of people have that. I just recently rewatched Hell House
Oh yeah.
because there will be a new one, and these clowns are kind of like creepy, but I was never like, ooh, clowns creepy. But fucking Pennywise, there's still scenes that give me nightmares to this day. And it's like I hate the curse of Stephen King. Because that's like the number one example of like here's a fantastic movie which is written great, it has great acting and everything's perfect, until in the end it's a gigantic spider and they kill it with earrings. And it's just, it's like what? But like the Pennywise as portrayed by Tim Curry is just so on another level. And I mean, I like Skarsgård, but like his portrayal of Pennywise in the newer ones, I don't hate it, but like the other like Pennywise is just so good. Still looking forward to the TV show, Welcome to Derry,
Yeah.
and interesting approach with going backwards 30 years. This will be good stuff, I think. But yeah, that's my top four horror movie villains. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely the Hell Priest is I mean, you know how I feel about Hellraiser and the Clive Barker novella,
Yeah,
Hellbound
sure.
Heart.
Yeah.
There's so much depth in that movie
Yeah.
and the book and and the novella too. Yeah, Hell Priest is great. Frank, cousin Frank is
Yeah,
another
yeah.
great villain, just like lost soul.
Yeah. It has like there's so much to decipher in this movie, but yeah, like I said, we will go into the Hellbound Heart at some point on the Patreon. So
Yeah.
looking forward to that deep dive.
Yeah, definitely. You Patreon subscribers will get that episode of Long Shadows where we talk about that. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait. A long-awaited episode of A
Yeah.
Hellbound Heart. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
All right, so my turn.
Yeah, it's your
Okay.
turn.
All right. Best or favorite Mount Rushmore non-metal bands.
Oh, Mount Rushmore non-metal bands. Number one, I mean, yeah, since I don't listen to a lot of metal, I think about this a lot. You know, my number one answer is New Model Army.
Hmm.
It's just their whole thing. Like I always claim they're the most authentic band. They've been active for so long. Every record has hits. Most of the records are only hits. Even in the phase that a lot of people dropped out, still good stuff. They made a great return with the last run of albums. Um, Always great live. They stand for the right things. Yeah, it's just I love this band to death. They saved my life on numerous occasions. So being able, I guess the second Robes of Night show to support New Model Army was one of the highlights of the run of that band. Um, yeah, so definitely New Model Army. Number two, Depeche Mode.
Yeah.
Uh, um, Violator is my all-time favorite record. It's like bar none. Also the complete discography. I have to say, like they start to get really interesting for me with Black Celebration when they were kind of like less cheesy and more in like a more serious direction. But then Music for the Masses and Violator and then Songs of Faith and Devotion. What a trilogy of albums, man. Unbelievable. Okay. Chameleons.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I would say Chameleons is definitely up there. Also kind of underrated still. Um, Made three albums in the 80s, which are insanely good, like from a musician standpoint, songwriting, lyrics, everything. They still play, they still rip live. Singer, like most 80s icons, lost his mind in the pandemic, but still very good. Um, let me think. Let me think. What's another? Oh, I will bite my ass so hard for this one. Like if like because there will definitely be bands where I say like, oh yeah, I should have said that. Number four. Let me think. Non-hardcore. Probably the Smiths.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Figured they would be on there.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw that, but like when Ultha toured the UK a couple of weeks ago, we actually went to the Salford Lads Club in
Yeah, I
Manchester.
did see that. Yep.
And that was like I I listen to the Smiths a lot. Like I don't listen to a lot of Morrissey anymore, and I won't debate like his political stance or whatever, and I don't care for that guy anymore. But then again, like I'll get to that in a bit, but like we were in Manchester, we had that show, and we were like on the way into town, we were talking about in the van, like about okay, so which bands from Manchester you know? And of course, like everybody Smiths, this, that, Stone Roses, here, there. And then it's like, and then we like went to the hotel, and I was like, oh, isn't the Salford Lads Club here somewhere? And like, oh, I want to go there tomorrow because we have some time off. So I threw on Google Maps, and it was 5 minutes away from the hotel. I'm like, oh shit. So the others were like, hey, let's get breakfast. And I was like, hey, can we go past there? I just want to take a picture. And we went there, like all of Ultha and pretty much all of Anti-Inferno, the band that we toured with. Took that picture outside, and then an elderly lady came out, and she was like, "Oh, so you're the bands, and you're fans of this place. I assume the Smiths." We're like, "Oh yeah." It's like, "You want to have a tour inside?"
Oh,
We're like,
wow.
"Wow, really?" And she's like, "Yeah, usually we open at like 12, but like it's 10. Like I can show you around." And she gave us this amazing tour through the Salford Lads Club, which has like a Smith's room, which blew my mind, and told us all these stories that like every other year Noel Gallagher will play a show there. You can book it. You can play shows in Salford Lads Club as a band. It has like a 300 capacity room. And we're like, oh my God, it was so cool. It's still an active youth center. And there's like, it's not just like people are like, no, yeah, fuck Morrissey. And yeah, fuck his political stance, whatever. But like they had like a souvenir shop, and it had like a Morrissey shirt that I hadn't seen before, which had a photo of like two kids in front of Salford Lads Club. And then like the lady said, like, yeah, that's him and his sister when they were really young. And when we struggled with the Salford Lads Club to stay open, and we made like this pledging, like this not Patreon, GoFundMe or something.
Yeah, one of those things.
Yeah, they just received a gigantic package of from Morrissey, and he printed 5,000 shirts with that image of him and his sister in front of Salford Lads Club, and gave it to them for free to sell, and like all keep all the proceeds. I'm like, okay, gotta love that. And so yeah, I think the Smiths have such a special role in my life. They were kind of the gateway drug into like indie music and alternative music. So yeah, I think that's a solid top five, top four. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I figured that the Smiths would be in there for you.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
What are
I mean,
what are yours?
all right. So number one is Joy Division. Definitely. Number one. That's such, I mean, no one sounded like the whole post-punk world really
Yeah.
kind of descended from them, and you can even kind of map out like the trajectory of that too. Like with their early, when they were Warsaw, they had more of a punk sound, you know,
Yeah.
and and then it just developed into something else, on Unknown Pleasures and Closer. It was like whatever was motivating their music to go in that direction really was they were the architects of post-punk in a lot of ways, but then the thing that really is Ian Curtis's lyrics and his voice and his delivery and that whole thing, like a guy that he killed himself at 23 years old.
Mm,
He was a kid. And the body of work that he put out at such an early period in his life it's incredible. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And yeah, so I mean, Ian Curtis has always been like a huge influence on, my attempts at being, any kind of vocal endeavor or songwriting stuff that I do. So he's always been the go-to for me. Uh, Up next is another, these two are equal in my mind is the Swans, you know,
Ah, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that Michael Gira is like a genius, a tortured mad genius, but a genius nonetheless though. And just the expression, like the freedom to make music pretty much tapping into this kind of subconscious energy that he has with the band. Because like from where they started to where they are now is like completely different, and but allowing yourself to have that freedom though, and to take chances musically. And, and once again, his vocal style, Michael Gira's vocal style is like a huge influence on my singing and,
Yeah.
his approach to writing, and he also connects with these deeper emotions too, which are just like his expressions come from like deep inside of himself too, and I was really resonated with that. And now my third one is kind of like you could say these guys are a little bit metal too at times, but Fields of the Nephilim.
Yeah, I knew they were coming.
Yeah, that's I mean, they have like Zune is a metal album for the most part,
Yeah,
but that's kind of like there was that period of time where a lot of those bands, these kind of post-punk, like goth sort of bands, were dabbling in metal, or death rock or whatever you want to call it.
yeah,
The biggest, kind of the band most guilty of that is a Cult, who started
yeah,
out as like a post-punk band and gothic sort of goth rock kind of thing, and then straight up became like AC/DC,
yeah,
or Zeppelin or whatever, you know what I mean?
yeah,
But yeah, Fields of the Nephilim, you you guys will probably really experience if you listen to the brand new Tombs record, which is coming out around Halloween this year. You'll see how much of an influence that band has been on
yeah.
my music. So, but yeah, it's but we're giving respect where respect is due. The band, Carl McCoy,
Yeah,
his actually, I think maybe his songwriting approach has probably more influence on some of the stuff that I write because it's more symbolic. It's more you know, kind of using the esoteric to draw inspiration. Like that's definitely a direction that I respond to as well. So
yeah.
yeah, so that's pretty obvious that band would be on this list. And then the fourth in this list here is the Birthday Party,
Yeah.
which has two of my favorite all-time musicians in it. Of course, I'm talking about Nick Cave and Roland S. Howard, and what's interesting about them, and you can kind of pick up on this in their solo careers more, but they kind of melded in the Birthday Party is Nick Cave was like this kind of animalistic uh primal force, and Roland Howard was like more of the kind of like sensitive, introspective, like romantic,
Yeah.
and like I guess this is actually a Boys Next Door track, but that song Shivers,
Yeah. Yeah.
Roland Howard wrote that, and
Yeah.
Nick Cave sang it, and that's cool. But then when you hear Roland Howard sing that song, perform that song on solo, it makes more sense. You know what I mean? And it's like this kind of like introspective, like sad boy, emotional kind of thing. And I feel like those two forces together in the Birthday Party were like, completely. It's like fire. Created this like totally incredible style of music, which once again, they also influence so many other bands like the Jesus Lizard, Bambara, like a
Yeah.
more, a modern band actually,
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, those are my four.
Yeah, it's to see like, and this is like this question could have killed me because like, of course, Joy Division, Swans, Fields of Death, and Birth. They're all like favorites of mine, and especially like Swans have such an influence on my writing for Ulfa, and it's like could have named Killing Joke, The Cure. It's like
Yep.
there's so much good non-metal stuff, and it always like blows my mind that there are metal people that only listen to metal. This is just like. Oh, how can you be so narrow-minded? Like you can't see like this. Even like we could have named the Wu-Tang Clan, which is
Yeah, that's
like
true actually.
it's heavy as fuck, and it's not even pop music, it's rap music, but it's
Yeah.
like it's the same way vein. And I think that's like what makes bands like Ultha Tombs and like some of our like family member bands um make them stick out because we just like listen to more than like, hey, listen to some Emperor for inspiration. Yes, Emperor has an inspiration, but like if you mix Emperor with Swans and Joy Division, you get Ultha. Like this is kind of like the approach to things.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I remember a long time ago, I read an interview with Phil Anselmo, and
Hmm.
someone asked him a similar question about new bands or whatever, and his thing was like, My problem with newer bands is you can tell exactly what record in their record collection they're spending time listening to, and I'm like, yeah, I guess you're right. You have a band where every record they do sounds exactly the same, and he's like,
Yeah,
but if you look at Phil, like, I know that he's like kind of a polarizing, figure,
yeah.
but my interactions with Phil and Selma have always been positive.
Wow.
In general, all those guys from New Orleans, I've always had very, very positive experiences with, Mike Williams, all those guys like Jimmy Bauer, Phil, Ben Falgoose, like all those guys, and his thing was like that dude listens to everything. He's got such a very, very broad understanding of music. And then, rather than combining them all in one band, he's got all these different projects that he's working on, that have completely different vibes in them, yet they all kind of fit together, and I always thought that was cool, but because yeah, you get, especially metal is like so like granular in the different subgenres,
Yeah.
and it's like, you would think that, and it's almost like there's no crossover anymore. That's why I wanted to focus on non-metal bands because
Mm-hmm.
I know like, we've toured with like we toured with Origin,
Mm.
several years ago, and it was like that tech metal, tech death thing is like kids only listen to that music. That's it. They
Yeah,
don't even
yeah,
know about anything outside of that technical metal world, which is I
yeah,
find, very, very unsatisfying if I was like a fan,
yeah. Hey, to each his own. Like to, but not for me. Like if I snuggle up to a cute girl or to my dog, I don't want to listen to Meshuggah. It's just like it's like especially like bands like Origin and like these
Yeah.
cynic like super technical stuff. I I mean, yeah, it's like if you can understand and wrap your head around this, great for you. But like, it's not for me. Like, I need variation in my
You try
style.
like, yeah, dude, I was trying to put the moves on some chick and I had like the Archspire record on.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, it's like maybe a good like, hey babe, can you count the click to this track?
Yeah.
Okay. Good one. See, this is fun. That's
Yeah.
like kind of
We're
the way
having,
I hoped it would turn out.
we're having fun.
Yes. Mike,
Yes.
I need you to name me your Mount Rushmore of New York hardcore bands.
You know how I feel about a lot of this stuff, man.
Yeah,
Uh,
of
all
course.
right. Dude, you know,
Highly subjective. We will talk about like the general appearance, but what are four bands from the New York hardcore scene? And that's a lot. It's more than you think.
no, 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 no. For me, it's not a lot. So there you
Okay,
go.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So number one, sick of it all.
Hmm.
Uh, it's funny. Luke Kohler was in my dream I had last night.
He's healthy again, I heard.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Maybe that's why I saw that he
Yeah.
was healthy again. But Lou was in one of my dreams last night. That was
Yeah.
interesting. So
You
there,
worked
there.
you worked with him, right? At Newbury Comics or
No,
something?
no, no, not Lou. No, no. I,
Okay.
I, I know Lou from the comic shop that Mike used to run.
Yeah, okay, okay, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, uh, solid, solid dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Lou, yeah, sick of it all. Number one, like transcended hardcore really in some ways.
Sure.
Especially in the late '90s, they were just like you know a rock band, like a very high level, high functioning band. You know,
Yeah.
and for the most part, it's the same guys. I know the bass players, changed up, but
Mm.
if you think about lineup changes, um, that to only have like one dude change out is pretty incredible, really.
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
Um, let's see. Uh, hmm, okay. Chromags, uh, Age of Quarrel,
Hmm.
and Alpha Omega,
Hmm.
and Best Wishes. Well, you know what? Scratch Alpha Omega off that because that has that song where they rap on it. So that song comes out. So Best Wish, the first two Chromags records, very
Hmm.
different. I still think John Joseph has like zero talent at all.
Mm.
Can't sing, can't write, and can't move on stage at all. He moves like his vertebrae are fused together. Um, no sense of rhythm, and total waste, really. But because we all know that he wasn't the original singer in the Cro-Mags. and
Mm.
Harley Royal lyrics anyway. So there you go. But Age of Quarrel is an iconic record, and Best Wishes is an incredible crossover album, really, if you think
Yes,
about
yeah.
it.
Love it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's number two. Uh, the third one is Agnostic Front, and once again, their first couple records, you know.
Yeah.
I always default to Cause for Alarm.
Mhm.
And that record was mostly written by Pete Steele. So so there you go. It's like it's the same sort of trip, you know. It's like
Yeah.
I think you know, they rely more heavily on who's in the band, I think, you know,
Yeah.
in some ways. And apparently Roger wasn't, he quit the band, I guess, before that record was recorded and then
Mhm.
rejoined. But
Okay.
I like them more as a thrashy, like more of a metal,
Yeah.
the metal version of that band as opposed to like the hardcore version of it.
Yeah. All the newer stuff I don't care for, but like the old
Ah,
stuff
yeah,
is really
totally.
good.
And
Yeah.
then I'm gonna say Marauder, you
Yeah.
know, one of the best death metal bands in the hardcore scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, Master Killer is insane, great, excellent,
Yeah. Yeah.
seriously catchy riffs. You know,
Unbelievable.
great guitar player. You know,
Yeah.
Saab is like a legend in New York City.
Mm.
Um, you know, once again, you know, controversial with the singers in that band. You know, kind of you know polarizing dudes, but great vocals. You know, depending
Yeah.
on which singer you go through, they both have great voices. You know,
Yeah.
and do you know that there's a demo out there with Eddie Sutton singing in the
Yeah.
band? Yeah,
Wait till you hear my top four, so you will know I know.
yeah. Okay, so there that's my four.
Yeah. Good choices. Good
Yeah,
choices. Number one, Chromax. I mean, they kind of like put hardcore on the map in a way.
yeah.
Age of Coral must be like the consensus hardcore album through all generations, I think. Um, Funny enough, there's an episode of Heart Lore with Paris Mayhew, and you know Paris Mayhew.
Of course, well, I don't know him
Yeah.
personally, but yeah,
Yeah, but so it's funny because like everybody when you talk about the Chromax, it's always like it's there's Camp John Joseph or there's Camp Harley, and he's like, hey, there's a third option because in that episode he claims that he wrote like all like the first two albums and like it's an interesting story, and he also talks about how he recorded Marauder and everything. Interesting take, 3 hours long, worth the listen. But yeah, Chromax, Marauder, Master Killer, unbelievable album.
really,
Um,
you have Marauder in there.
yeah, of course, yeah,
Right on, man. Cool.
yeah. Leeway,
All right. Yeah.
I love Leeway. I also love their like third and fourth albums when they were kind of like more into another like this vein of Orange 9 millimeters when everybody went into the quicksand territory.
Right.
It's just like Eddie's vocals. He's so special in the way he sings. And that Marauder demo with Eddie on it is so crazy to hear these songs with that voice.
Yeah.
Wish there would be like a full, like a real release of that, but it's like I just have MP3s. Yeah.
I want to say that I think that Upstate Records put out that on like a disc, a CD or something like that.
Oh, okay, really?
Yeah, yeah. I might be wrong, but for some reason that sticks out in my head as something that came out officially a couple of years ago.
Okay, I have to track that down if that's the case. Yeah. Love that. And the last one is to me the absolute underrated gem of New York hardcore. And you said like Marauder is the best death metal band in the hardcore scene. I raised you Neglect.
Oh,
And
dude.
yeah, like the Ended EP, when I first heard that, I'm like, okay, this is the most negative, mean hardcore I ever heard. It sounds like the tone of the guitars, everything they do is Obituary and Celtic Frost. And Brian is such an incredible vocalist and also controversial. I mean, Hitler was a Jew. It's not kind of a song title that you could drop today and get away with it. Only did like EPs, 7 inches, pull the plug 7 inch, ended EP. Unbelievable stuff. Very formative for me when it came out. I heard that before Integrity, so Integrity like afterwards was like, yeah, it's hard, but Neglect is harder.
Yeah,
Um,
nah, Neglect's great.
yeah.
I did not include them because they're from Long Island originally. So, but I guess like New York hardcore means the greater. Okay, I got you.
Yeah. That's I just listened to an episode with a guy from a Staten Island band, and he's like, hey, doesn't count. To me, like Neglect always like fell into I mean, yeah, here we go. Maybe the purists will jump into my face. But I think I spoke to Mike Scandato about it, and he also included Neglect. But he said like were in the periphery because they were not from like the actual place where it all came from. But
Yeah,
yeah. Um Definite
yeah.
runner up. I was considering putting in is Life's Blood because I've been on a
Okay.
huge Life's Blood kick in recent times, and the guy went on to do Born Against is also a band that I really like. Yeah,
Oh, totally, dude. Yeah.
yeah,
Um, yeah, Leeway would have been they if we had five, I would have put Leeway on there,
yeah,
and rest in peace, Eddie Sutton,
yeah,
you know, an icon in like the New
yeah,
York hardcore scene and just incredible vocalist, man, and
yeah.
I actually I had the pleasure of interviewing him
Oh, cool.
on Metal Matters, like when that newish Leeway record came out a few years ago.
Oh man, really? I didn't
Yeah.
catch that episode. Okay.
Yeah, I have to find, I should, all that stuff is lost to time except for whatever I had right on this hard drive. And I have that because, like, technically, I guess Metal Matters owned all that stuff, but I
Mm,
have all those episodes somewhere, maybe on my old computer, which
yeah.
I have to resurrect from the dead because there's like some issues with it. But
Mm,
that I should put that out on the Patreon stuff, like
yeah.
post
That
all that.
There were some really incredible episodes in there that you did back then. And it's also, especially like for Patreon, because it was always limited to an hour. Like
Yeah.
I think it would be a good stuff to put on there. Yeah.
Yeah, no, totally. And it was a lot of fun doing that. Unfortunately, it just, for me, it got cumbersome after a while. You know, one of the biggest downers was interviewing Nurgle from Behemoth, really. And that guy's like kind of a tool, I think.
Yeah.
But he got really pretentious with certain things, and like I ended up not we couldn't use it because it was just the dude wouldn't answer my questions.
Yeah.
And then I was just like, "Yeah, sorry, guys." So we ended up just using edits from that and put it, for like promotional things, I guess.
That's a bummer. If you talk to people that you actually look up to and you meet them and they're like complete douchebags, it's like, yeah, it's a shame.
I respect him, but I wouldn't say I look up to him
Yeah.
though. He's definitely someone who's accomplished a lot, talented guy, but
Yeah.
he's kind of corny in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. I second that.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, it's my turn.
Yeah, it's your turn.
Okay. Let's see. I got a couple things here. Best James Bond, or your Mount Rushmore of James Bond movies.
Ooh.
I knew you like this one.
Ooh, okay. First one, straight top of the head, Goldfinger.
Okay.
Um, Unpopular choice, but I think it's just like it's such a good movie. Um, it's just like the wait a second, what's something popped up here. So yeah, it's like I'm not the James Bond like maniac from that time, like the Sean Connery movies. There are a lot of
Hmm.
good ones in them,
Yeah.
but I always loved Goldfinger, especially with Gerd Fröbe as German, and so that was good. Speaking of the gold, Man with the Gold Gun.
Okay. Yeah. Yep.
So Christopher Lee, also incredible. Like the whole setting with the island was fantastic. Um, Skyfall. I think Skyfall is overall one of the best movies in the last 20 years. I love all the Daniel Craig Bond movies, but that one especially was special to me when it came out. I saw it in cinema, I think 4 times. And it's just the cast, the story, everything was fantastic. Okay. Oof. So these were my top three. I want to include one. Now I gotta, as much as I love the old ones, but I gotta go with Casino Royale just because it also had Mads Mikkelsen in it.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
That's good, man. I knew you'd appreciate that. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
my top four is Casino Royale,
Of course,
the
yeah.
the the, the Daniel Craig one from
Yeah.
2006. Because like once again, all right, I'm gonna say it. Daniel Craig's my favorite James Bond.
I second that.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. This for his version of Casino Royale really kind of gave you the whole like Daniel Craig looks like a guy that would kick your ass, like
Yeah.
straight up. Like he looks like the guy who can handle himself,
Yeah.
man to man. Mads Mikkelsen, one of my favorite actors of all time, is in that film, so that's on there. Also, Spectre with Daniel Craig.
Yeah.
I really enjoy that one too.
It's an underrated, like people like really didn't like it when it came out, but I recently rewatched all of them and like the setting is great, the cast is great. I don't know what people don't like about that.
I thought it was great. I like the whole run with Daniel Craig. That's going to go
Yeah.
down in history for me as like my favorite Bond era.
Yeah.
But then I got to give respect to Sean Connery. Um,
Yeah.
Thunderball was probably one of my
Ah,
favorite
yeah, yeah.
Sean Connery. And th though this is Roger Moore's film, I also like Moonraker because of the kind of science fiction element to it.
It's so over the top, but like, yeah, I was thinking about like including Moonraker there too, because to me, like from the old Bond, I love Roger Moore. I love Moonraker. I probably would have chosen A View to a Kill, but also because of the
Yeah.
connection to with Duran
I
Duran,
was
and I
gonna say,
like that.
yeah,
Yeah. But yeah, I really back that Moonraker is really good, even though it's cheesy. Yeah.
yeah, it's fun, and I like the kind of sci-fi like vibe to
Yeah.
it. You know what I mean? But yeah, Daniel Craig, man, like, dude, that guy, he's the best James Bond.
Yeah. Quick sidebar, worst James Bond?
Oh, dude, George Lazenby.
I think Timothy Dalton.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we forget that Pierce Brosnan and Timothy Dalton played James Bond too, and those are
Yeah.
kind of forgettable films.
Yeah, Lazenby only did that one, and
Yeah.
it's a good movie, but it doesn't really feel like a Bond movie. And then you have like, I mean, you have got the Timothy Dalton ones that are I don't get it. Pierce Brosnan is okay, is except for like the last, I think the last one was Die Another Day, which was like this sci-fi like cyber computer thing and was terrible. Yeah.
Pierce Brosnan in general, I think is pretty good. I kind of
Yeah.
I enjoy seeing him in movies, and he was in that Penny Dreadfuls series too.
Yeah, that was, oh man, what a good show that was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the first there's a second season which is like kind of unwatchable actually.
No, it's like they had three seasons of the first one, but then they did the different run
Well,
of
yeah,
the
that's what I
yeah
meant.
yeah
Yeah,
yeah
there was
yeah
another
yeah
second run.
yeah
Yeah, like
yeah that was terrible. Yeah.
the 3 seasons of the original version of that
Oh,
was great. Yeah.
and they ended up like on cliffhangers with you. You mean you know my love for Jekyll and Hyde, and they kind of teased Jekyll and Hyde in there, and oh, they could have done so much with that, and like the whole cast was insanely good. Yeah.
Yeah, Ava Green was in it.
Gosh. Yeah.
Well, we know about
Yeah.
her.
Yeah, she's also in Casino Royale. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. She was in that as well. Yep.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's Bond is like always good. I might rewatch those again, man. Those
Yeah.
last few films. I think that run
What
is
what's your
worth being
what's your
rewatched.
what's your feeling on Mission Impossible films?
Dude, I just can't get into them, man. I watched the first one that came out. I'm like, this is fun, but it's like too much. I don't know. It's just a little too much for me. I would prefer it to be like a little bit more about the cloak and dagger aspects of it,
Yeah,
instead of just like jumping off buildings and,
yeah,
helicopters and that kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
yeah. Yeah, I love them. I think they're like the Daniel Craig Bonds and Mission Impossible are the best action franchises, which doesn't involve like body action or like over the top stuff like Die Hard, but like it's like kind of almost like this one is the British one and the other one is the American one, a bit
Yeah.
more over the top. But I really like that, and like I rewatched because like Mission Impossible 8 just came out. I rewatched the stuff, and the first one's like, I mean, it's insane. It's from '96. People that looked like the way they looked. The second one is a John Woo one, where like you can totally see like, oh yeah, I remember John Woo era of action movies. And then like after the third one, they have like a continuing narrative, which is like finds a solution now in the eighth part, and I always dig long time storytelling. So like I'm really into that. Yeah.
There's 8 of those.
Yes. Yeah, there's eight by now. Yeah.
Damn. Wow. Yeah, John Woo, man. You know, it's funny. I was thinking about John Woo recently.
Yeah.
About how I want to go back and watch some of those Hong Kong films.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you familiar with Wong Kar-wai, the Korean filmmaker?
No.
He he's interesting. Like there's a movie called Fallen Angels, which is like more like a crime, thriller type
Mm-hmm.
movie that if you liked, The Killer or like Hard Boiled,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
like you'd be into that, it'd be really
Okay.
cool. Yeah, I recommend checking that out. Actually, no, he's not Korean. What am I saying? He's a uh, well, these are definitely Hong Kong films.
Mm-hmm.
All right. But he did another film called Chungking Express.
Oh, I know that one. Yes.
Now, I
Okay.
saw that in a movie theater in the Brattle in Cambridge, and it was like the second feature of like a double feature of Hong Kong films.
Okay.
And that was way different. Like I think the killer was no, it was Hard Boiled was the actual film, and they showed this as like a second feature for it, and it was like more like this kind of dreamy, like introspective type of film.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Wong Kar-wai is from Shanghai. All right, so yeah, I was completely wrong. I want to make sure I get stuff like that right. Yeah, this guy's from like New Jersey or whatever, but he's from like Shanghai.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the comment section won't forgive you, and like people on Twitter will like go out of their way to
Yeah.
ruin you.
I'll,
Yeah,
I'll be accused of being racist or something because I thought he was from a different country, that
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
thing. I'm you
All of
know,
them, all of them look the same to you. I know.
I can't tell the difference. That makes me,
Yeah.
I voted for Trump and, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
MAGA Mike.
Mega Mike. Okay. Sounds like a Disney blockbuster. Um, yeah, fantastic. Good stuff. Do we have time for one more each?
Yeah, let's do it, man.
All right. Mike,
Okay.
I I need you to tell me your Mount Rushmore of live albums.
Dude, live albums. Okay. All right. Live albums. All right. Black Sabbath Live at Last. It
Hmm.
came out. I bought it as like a Best Buy for 4.99 when I was like 13 years old or something like that. And it's like one of the worst recordings of them live, but it's like it sounds like you're in a like everything's they're just feeding back and between songs and there's like the songs are just a little slower than they are on the album, which makes it
Hmm.
even more like brutal sounding. So that always comes to mind, man. Like Black Sabbath Live at Last.
Hmm.
Black Flag, who's got the 10 and an inch, 10 and a half.
Hmm.
Like that live record's cool.
Hmm.
Um, wait, is that the name of the record? Let me double check that. Dead Air. Um, yeah, this is really cool, man. I'm checking what, yeah. Yeah, it's a live album, of course. That's the name of the record. I wanted to make sure that yeah, okay. All right, yeah. Um, Black Flag Live, is one of the greatest things ever. So there you go. That's definitely a must-have live record. Um,
Hmm.
you know. Uh All the World's a Stage by Rush.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That is like probably my favorite era of Rush live.
Hmm.
Because they were still like, like I really I like Rush as a band. I've always been a huge fan of their music, to a point.
Hmm.
I kind of people have urged me to check out the music they made at post 90, but
Hmm.
I just never really got around to it. And Yeah, like Dan, our guitar player in Tombs, he's a fan of those records, and he said I should check them out.
Mhm.
And but the 70s into 80s version of that band, I think, is fantastic. And that live record, once again, it's a time when bands play their music. When you're listening to a live band, there's no click track, there's no
Yeah,
tracks being flown in from a computer.
yeah,
It's just three dudes up there ripping it. And
yeah,
that's and also like Bastille Day, like those early songs from the first three albums
yeah,
are rock and roll. They're hard rock records. So
yeah,
when they
yeah,
were like a hard rock, Zeppelin inspired sort of band, that was that up to the transition of being progressive, I thought were cool. Like, Farewell to Kings is a great record by them. Um, Permanent Waves, it's got, those are great records,
yeah,
but that one live album, and I think that was the first Rush record I got. I think someone gave it to me as a gift. So
yeah.
yeah, all right, so that one's definitely in there. What are your thoughts on Rush? No?
I'm like, I mean, Rush is just, I always have the feeling they're kind of like a band, like not to compare them with Tool, but it's like people that are really good musicians tend to like this band, and that turned me away in the first place. But when I was 16 and I had a bass guitar for a year and like learned stuff to play at home, like while watching MTV, I had a music teacher from South Africa, and he said like, okay, you can play well. We need to teach you to do different rhythms. So he made me learn Power Windows by Rush. So which has a lot of 7/8 and like these weird odd rhythm patterns. So I learned counting music.
Oh, cool.
And I was like, "Oh, that's great." And I really like the so like my introduction to Rush was kind of like the 80s, almost kind of synth wavy
Yeah,
album like t style.
yeah,
And then I
Signals.
yeah, and then I went back to like the more rocking stuff, and I really have a sweet spot for Rush. I don't own a lot of records, but the ones I own, I do love, and I think to this day, damn, now I forgot what's their hit, which was also in
Oh, Lime.
Halloween.
Oh, I'm
Uh,
thinking about like the Rush hit is like Limelight or Tom
No, no.
Sawyer or something like that.
Tom
Yeah.
Sawyer. Yeah, that's
Okay.
their hit. So that's like always a great song to put on. So like, yeah, I agree. Like I tried the later stuff. I'm like, nah, that's too much like nerd music for me now.
Okay.
But like the old stuff where they were really like a rock band, then becoming like a prog rock band, then like an 80s glam prog rock band. I don't know. Rush is their own thing. And it's incredible to see live videos where Geddy Lee is playing bass with just the left hand, playing a different melody on the synth with the right hand, and singing, which is mind-blowing. Yeah.
Yeah, he's the man, Geddy Lee, for sure, man. He's
Yeah.
awesome. No Sleep Till Hammersmith by Motorhead.
Okay.
Now that's Motorhead live, especially like in the early 80s, is like, freight train. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's see what else.
That's one you have four
Oh,
already.
that's four.
I think
Wait,
yeah,
what
I
I got?
think
I got
yeah, Black
all right,
Sabbath, Black
Sabbath,
Flag,
Flag.
Rush.
Oh, okay, good. All right, there we go. All
Yeah.
right.
I'm surprised. I expect a Decade of Aggression to be in there.
You know why it's not in there? I heard that
Hmm?
that was some sound reinforcement on that record.
Ah, okay, okay, okay.
Yeah. So everything that I picked, it's like from the late 70s. So it's like that's when there was none of that technology that
Yeah.
existed, you know.
So when you were 30 years old.
When I was 30 back in the 70s.
All right, good choices, man. Good choices.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard from top of the head, but I knew that we both are people that like don't shy away from live albums because I also like just like the energy it has. So I also like when I mean I don't necessarily enjoy record store day. I think it's like a weird thing, but since I work in that record shop now, I know that it
Oh.
actually like does something for their shops and that's cool. And I mean, I spent a lot of money because there were several Gun Club and replacements live bootlegs. And it's just like some of them are barely like you can barely listen to them because they're so terrible in sound,
Yeah. Yeah.
but still like the energy they have. And I remember like back when I was younger and when I really got into music in the CD era, we had like they called it CD-Börse, which is like kind of like CD fairs or so. It was like in like town halls or shit, and there were people selling their shit CDs almost like bootlegs. And I bought a lot of live albums back then when they like just burned CDs, designed a weird artwork, and I had tons of these live albums. And also like that German hardcore label Lost and Found that ripped
Yep.
off all the hardcore bands had like Alive in a World Full of Hate by Sick of It All, which one I really liked back then. So like I always liked live albums because they have another kind of energy to the songs most of the times.
Totally agree with that. Yeah, there's the 70s though is like where it's at for live records, man. That
Yeah,
was like a big thing when hard rock bands from the 70s,
yeah,
there's like, Live and Dangerous, Thin Lizzy, there was like Unleashed in the East, the Judas Priest live album from
yeah,
that era from like I
yeah,
think that was like 78, 77 or something like that. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, Thin Lizzy is my runner-up as a spoiler. It's my number five, and I had to make way for another one. But yeah, like the Live and Dangerous one is so good. Thin Lizzy in general is such an outstanding band. Um, but yeah, my top four. Number one, easy pick, 101 by Depeche Mode.
Oh yeah. Makes sense.
It's unbelievable to this day. The video to Everything Counts still gives me goosebumps. I think that was pretty much my introduction to Depeche Mode before Violator came out. Saw that on MTV when I was really young. Um, there's this video like this movie made for this tour like the documentary and it's filmed incredibly well and yeah I always have that. It's like one of the weirdest traditions to me is like whenever I play a concert in Berlin and I'm behind the wheel to drive into the city, there's this you always like drive these highways along past Leipzig and then all of a sudden you take a turn left and then it goes straight past Potsdam into Berlin. It's this long straight highway that goes into the city and ends in the city. And whenever I take that turn and go on there, it's always I put on 101. I don't know why, because I don't necessarily have the connection of Berlin and Depeche Mode, but it's just a tradition that I always had with Hellström, with Planks, with Ulfa, and so when I drove bands, there was always that one, and I go back to that as at least once a month. I love that album so much. Yeah.
So it's I have one left, one more.
Live album? No,
No, no,
no,
no. Oh no. Do you have one more?
no. Yeah, yeah, I have to
Yeah.
like this. That was my first. Like the other ones I have is Police Live. It's a double CD I got when they it was. The one there was two concerts, both US tours. The Police is also a band I should have named in my non-metal bands
Oh
because
yeah.
the Police was highly influential for me back then. The double CD of Live I still have. It's like the one first CD is like 79 in Boston when they were still pretty much a punk band, playing a lot of stuff from their demos. And the other one is like from 83 from Atlanta when they were already like the biggest band in the world and shortly before they decided to break up. Love that album. Number three, Ministry, Sphincter, like that tour where they play, like it was after Filth Pig, I think. That's also when Ministry stopped being interesting to me. But like that live album is so gnarly and such good recordings from the different shows they played. And I think one of the first ones that I really fell in love with, and that might get me canceled, but it's SOD Live at Budokan.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's gonna care about that man. It's like, getting
Yeah.
canceled. That's what I mean, I know
Dude,
where you're coming from, but like, yeah, people are too sensitive if they're gonna think that's like, a thing.
dude, the weirdest thing. I mean, first of all, that record kicks fucking ass. It's insane. We just listened to it on the last shows that we played, and Chris and I were moshing like while driving. And then it's like, I mean, I have this record. I listened to it a million times, and then I heard something I have never heard before. Like Billy Milano says, like towards the end, thanks everybody for coming out. This next song goes out to the two bands that played with us tonight, which was Morbid Angel and Agnostic Front. I'm
Oh
like,
man.
what the fuck? It's like they supported SOD. What a package. Um, I love that album. I like it's humor to me. It's still humor. I recently watched that 1.5 hour interview of Billy Milano, who has completely lost his mind and was so entertaining. And then he was talking about like, yeah, now they're doing this SOD kind of tribute thing, you know. I'm like, what the fuck is he talking about? Did you see what happened?
No, I mean, Mike told me to check that out. I haven't had a chance to.
No,
That's
but
a long period of time. That's a long time to devote to
yeah, yeah.
someone.
I mean, it's entertaining, but like, you know what happened? Like, I think it was Milwaukee Metal Fest or Maryland Death Fest. Something
It
happened.
could be because both of those are happening right now. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And they had a show tribute to SOD, which had Scott Ian on guitar, Danny Lilker on bass, the son of Scott Ian on drums, because Benante is on tour with Pantera,
Right.
and Jamie Jasta of Hatebreed sang the
Oh, yeah,
songs.
I did hear about that. Yes. Okay. Right. Did he had a problem with that, I'm assuming.
I don't know. Like, I mean, he volunteered to do it because he liked it, and I
No, but
saw
I mean,
video.
I'm sure that Billy Milano had a
Oh
problem
yeah,
with that.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, like he kills Scott Ian in this interview. Like, I mean, he has nothing too good to say about any of those guys, but like Scott Ian is his prime like his prime enemy number one. It's hell of entertaining. But I mean, he says a lot of stuff that people also wouldn't let fly today. So it's interesting to see that. So, but yeah, SOD Life at Budokan, kick-ass record. Yeah.
Actually, the Cheap Trick live at Budokan too is actually a good record too.
Yep.
You
Yeah,
know, the
yeah,
great. That's what set bands from the '70s and live albums, man. It was something they did back then. You know,
yeah, yeah.
I challenge a modern band today to make a live album.
We did.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I'm not talking about like, us. I'm talking about like,
Yeah, yeah.
let's
A
see how,
big band.
yeah, see how shot they sound, live.
Yeah. I assume like when Oasis play their songs this year that they will make money off that and do like, but then they will take one song from every show and have it like mastered and perfected. But
Right.
like back then when they were just like, hey, this is the show we're going to play. There will be some mics. We will master it afterwards. Let's go. And I mean, these bands could play. I mean, they all didn't have several takes in the studio, so a lot of that shit they played was live on the spot, and they were such incredible players, and I think that's lost today.
Well, yeah, that band Ghost, the one that
Hmm.
like like everyone loves that band.
Mm.
When I saw them open for Iron Maiden, they most of their set was tracks.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the guitar player is like, there's like some guitar thing going on, and the guy was like waving to the audience during that part. And
Oh,
like the
dude.
singer has that mask and he's like singing, and his voice sounds perfect. I'm like, how do you pull something like that off without having a track underneath it, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's like I had like a category for here, like bands that everybody seems to love, but we don't. Like, but I think let's do negative stuff the next time.
Yeah,
Let's stick to
next one
positive.
will be more negative. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You want to hit me with a final one?
Oh, for me. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. This is Ralph. Name
Yes.
me your Mount Rushmore of horror authors.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is a
That,
mighty one.
yeah. Well, um, Lovecraft's got to be number one. The GOAT,
Hmm.
I think. You know that I have to put my homie Edgar Allan in there.
Oh yeah.
Maybe The Godfather.
Hmm.
I am, and that's also thanks to you. I think I wouldn't have heard about him, but I have been blasting through his back catalog as Adam Neville.
Oh yeah. Right on, man. Okay.
Oh man, the Reddening was the first one. I saw you post about this, like the cover art where I'm like, oh, that looks intriguing. Got it, loved it. Then I bought, I don't know what the title was, but the one with the house and the neighbors that are weird and like the weird forest in the backyard. Didn't like that so much in the first beginning, then I got really into
Picks
it.
up. Yeah.
Yeah, but then the last one he put out, I mean, he will put out a new one this year, which was like this thing I really look forward to. But the Jesus, All the
Uh,
Fiends of Hell.
yeah,
That
yeah,
was
the
the last
alien
one.
one. Yeah.
Oh my God, that was so
Incredible.
good. I loved it. And then I read The Vessel right after that. So I'm on this huge Neville kick right now. So Lovecraft, Poe, Neville. Of course, I should. use Stephen King, but I have to. I mean, if even if it's not like per se straight up horror, but Thomas Ligotti.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay. Dude, we we have almost the same list, except I yeah, Lovecraft for sure, because he like really kind of, but all right. Stephen King got me interested in reading horror when I was a kid.
Hmm.
All right.
Hmm.
But Lovecraft really was because of my love for Conan and the Robert
Yeah.
E. Howard stuff. And of course, those guys were famous pen pals. That's how I got into Lovecraft.
Mm.
And Lovecraft just slided in like between like the stuff that Stephen King wrote about and then the stuff that Robert E. Howard wrote about and then like some other cosmic realm of like horror and dread. So Lovecraft is my number one, definitely.
Mm.
You know. Ligotti's in there too because he's a more modern disciple of him when it comes to just that cosmic like pessimism.
Mm.
You know, and I enjoy like all of his material. I actually missed out on there's the pre-order went up yesterday for Teatro Grotesco
Hmm.
and they're sold out already. I didn't even get a chance to order
Really?
them.
Oh shit. Oh
Yeah, like
man.
a new the new version like Chiroptera put out is
Yeah.
a hardcover or slipcase, like all this stuff. So I'm gonna hang out until the second printing of that. So yeah, Legotti's in there. Adam Neville, who I I that guy he do no wrong in my eyes, man. In short stories, his short stories are great, man. I should
Yeah.
the short stories are awesome, and then his novels are good too. And I
Yeah.
really enjoy all of his material. And yeah, once again, he kind of exists in that weird fiction realm, folksy kind of folky horror kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then of course the all the Fiends of Hell is like a more of like a sci-fi through a Lovecraft lens. You know,
Yeah.
it is a lot like some of the Lovecraft stories
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
are more science fiction. That's what it reminds me of a little bit.
Do you know if he wrote Lovecraft stories? Because I mean, there's so
Yes.
many. Yes, he
Yeah.
did, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a Cthulhu. I forgot the title of it, but there's like a
Ah, okay.
Lovecraft pastiche
Yeah.
um, called it's a Cthulhu story he wrote. Yeah,
Okay, gotta
it
find
shows
that.
up in a couple of different anthologies actually. If
Yeah.
you know how there's all these like Cthulhu anthologies out, it's
Hmm.
in one of those that I have. And then
Yeah.
Neville has a collection of his short fiction. There's like I think two or three volumes of that, which I have those. And probably one of my favorite. This is interesting because like, and once again, I can't remember the name of the short story, but it's like, um, he wrote a Western horror like that was incredible, like
Okay.
straight up like late 1800s U.S. frontier cowboys, vampires,
Uh,
dude.
wow. Okay.
It was like from an Englishman, no less, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm just like, wow, this is like probably one of my favorite stories, man. But I need to figure out the title of it. But it's in those collections that he put out. They all have black covers and they're really cool. You know.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I think like also I feel when I read it, it doesn't feel British. It always like I read it and I imagine scenarios in the US, like where the stories take place, but it's British. So like that I tried to read it in my head with a British accent, and I'm like, no, I can't do this. It makes it terrible. So, but he has such a unique voice to him, and yeah, we were driving past his town where he actually lives, and I'm like, huh. But it's like, yeah, I can't just go there and like, like find out where he lives and just pop up and say like, hey, what's up?
To show up and knock on his door with him and his
Yeah,
family.
big fan, man, big fan.
Yeah.
No, he's great. Yeah.
He's also a big metal fan too. I email with him occasionally, and
Okay.
I've been trying to get him to come on Everything Went Black, but no dice. Yet. I'll continue to work on him.
Hmm.
And then of course Clive Barker. I
Yeah, yeah,
been thinking about Clive Barker quite a bit recently, just thinking about like you know, doing Hellbound Heart and how much I love that. And
Hmm.
I enjoy all like Cabal, I thought was great, better than the movie that they made. I
Yeah,
think the Nightbreed movie was cool, but Cabal, the novella was incredible, I thought.
yeah.
Um and Clive Barker just like a cool, interesting fellow too, you know.
Yeah.
So, there's too many other authors,
Yeah. Yeah.
to name really, you know what I mean? But like that would be like my top four right now at this moment.
Good one. I mean, yeah, it's like I said, we could do like for the topics with New York hardcore or horror authors. We could do like what's objective, you know? There's this objective thing, but I think people listen to us because they want to have our opinion.
Yeah.
And we want to have theirs. And I think there's a lot to talk about. So again, the encouragement, if you guys listen to this, let us know your thoughts on the specific topics. We would love to hear it.
Yeah, definitely, guys. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. Definitely
Yeah.
good having you back, Ralph.
Yeah, we will talk more sooner, buddy. Like I said, once that tour is gone, you'll be a married man then, and if the wife lets you off the chain, like, and lets you have some fun. And when I'm back from that tour, there's not much except for like rehearsing with Ultha and writing the new album to f be finished. I will have more weekends time, and we will make this a more like regular habit of like talking to each other. It needs to happen again.
Awesome. All right, man. Thanks a lot for listening, everyone. Take care.
I've been waiting for a guy to come and take me by the hand. Sure, these sensations make me feel the pleasures of a normal man. These sensations spare the insults, leave them for another day. I've got the spirit, lose the feeling, take the shock away. It's getting faster, moving faster now, it's getting out of hand. On the 10th floor down the back stairs, into no man's land. Lights are flashing, cars are crashing, getting frequent now. I've got the spirit, lose the feeling, let it out somehow. What means to you, what means to me, and we will meet again. I'm watching you, I watch it all, I take no pity from your friends. Who is right, who can tell, and who gives a damn right now? Till the spirit new sensation takes hold, then you know. Till the spirit new sensation takes hold, then you know. Till the spirit new sensation takes hold, then